and welcome to another brand new episode of Dingers and Stingers, the podcast that before yesterday thought they knew every kind of double play that there could be. But the Milwaukee Brewers showed us a brand new kind that has never been seen before and may never be seen again. Wow, game one of the NLCS had so much going on. We are going to get to the championship series so far. And also where we think these championship series might be going a little later. Also a little later, an emergency edition of Fan Corner. Why, oh why would we do that? You will have to wait to find out. Because first, we are going to start the show with our segment we've been doing for the last month or so. There are some baseball teams that since the last time we recorded have been eliminated from the postseason, so we need to eulogize them. By the way, I am Dallas. That is Matt. Drew is not here today. Hopefully he'll be back next week. But for now, just the two of us today. We're going to have some fun. So like I said, we have some teams to eulogize. We have to bury them because their seasons are over. And this will kind of double as our division series recap here as we talk about these teams that were eliminated. So if I may, I'll go first. I am on the New York Yankees. So we said goodbye to the New York Yankees last week. They were eliminated by the what can't I remember who eliminated the Yankees? The Blue Jays. They were eliminated by the Blue Jays. We're gonna get cut, restart. No, we can't do that. Welcome to another brand new. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, we rolled to here.
So the Yankees were eliminated by the Blue Jays, which I always knew off the top of my head. And that series was kind of not really a series. We talked about it a little bit last week when we talked about where the division series were at when we recorded. There wasn't much left that the Yankees were able to do after that day. They caved pretty quickly, and Toronto was able to, take the series. And so the Yankees find themselves in our In Memoriam segment this week. So cause of death for the Yankees. You could say not having Garrett Cole, that's a cause. If they had Garrett Cole, these series might have looked a lot different. You could say that, their lineup just wasn't up to the task. Outside of Aaron Judge, they struggled most of the year to put a very strong lineup together. And especially when you consider the fact that, if you told anybody before that series that they were going to have to score, whatever it is, 6 runs a game to beat the Blue Jays, I think everybody would have picked the Blue Jays to win because I don't think anyone would have bought that the Yankees would be able to do that. And so we talked about this a little bit last week too. So they were just not quite there. Their record-wise, they were as good as the Blue Jays, but when it came down to head-to-head, we saw how that turned out. So they just weren't all the way there. Their lineup couldn't put it together. They had some pitching injuries that were just things you can't come back from in a series that's longer than 3 games. So let's call that the cause of death for the Yankees. And look, an immediate cause of death was just the onslaught of Blue Jays bats. They were just ripping them apart every game, it seemed like. So in a way that we'll get to later, they are not doing against the Seattle Mariners. The other thing that we'll do in this segment is say what these teams can look forward to. So baseball has an afterlife, and after that afterlife, you come back. And so these Yankees will be back in 2026, but what they can look forward to in the afterlife as they rest, they can look forward to getting Garrett Cole back. He is probably not going to be back to start the season next year, but he should be back pretty soon after the season starts, sometime in May, we're thinking right now. So they can look forward to that. They're going to get him back in the building. They're going to get him back in, on the squad. And that's going to make a huge difference for them, especially if they don't, if they lose some parts of their lineup that contributed this year and don't replace them with people that are better than them, really. And so that's the other thing about this Yankees afterlife, this Yankees offseason is it's kind of tough to find things to look forward to because they're really just gonna run it back a little bit. Aaron Boone doesn't seem to be going anywhere. The poor guy, he hit one home run like 30 years ago, and his life has been tortured forever because of it. So he doesn't seem to be going anywhere. So no manager change, no organizational change there. Not that I think
Despite what the
one would
fans
be.
might want.
Despite what the fans might want, I don't know what I think is necessary over there as far as that's concerned. But yeah, and then the other thing is we say run it back. They are going to get better in their rotation because Garrett Cole's coming back, but their lineup could get a lot worse if they don't make moves. Because Cody Bellinger is a pending free agent. He has to select his option if he wants to do that. Then he'll be back. But if he doesn't want to do that, then I don't think that at the price that he would command, they would sign him again. They've got Devin Williams as a free agent who wasn't stellar this year like they wanted him to be. But, you know, we've seen relievers have down years and come back, so it might be worth it to give him one more go if they can afford it, or if they want to pay it. They can afford it if they want to pay it. And so these are some pieces that are going to be tough to replace, but they can replace them with better players. Paul Goldschmidt also probably going to not be on the Yankees this year. Not that he was an everyday contributor by the end, but of the season. But yeah, so there are going to be some free agents out there that they can add. Will they do it? I don't know. And so I guess the Yankees fans can look forward to being on the edge of their seat during this offseason to see what the Yankees might do to get better. So as we say goodbye to the Yankees, rest in the most peace. We were not terribly sad to see you go just because of, personal animus on this podcast. And also, World Series rematches are never fun for anybody. So, especially not back-to-back years. So, goodbye, good riddance from some on this show. I want to be representative of our Boston guy on this show and say good riddance to the Yankees. You are gone from us for the year. So, all right, let's go to Matt. I've talked long enough to start this thing. Let's go to Matt. He's got the Cubs.
Yeah, the Cubs obviously they lost to the Brewers, who are currently playing the Dodgers right now. Their cause of death, I genuinely believe, and this may be a little bit extreme, but like I think there's like it's at least this adjacent. I think they got comfortable and cocky after playing the Padres. I mean, they had players playing against the Padres. Matthew Boyd came out and put up like 6 2/3 like score. Like they were shutting us down. The top of our lineup went like 2 for 30 or something like that. And I think that they just got really confident, and then they played a real baseball team directly following that. And it's a big swing, especially it's a division rival, and this is we've talked about it. They were the team with the best record in baseball, and they did it without being the highest paid, without being the most highly regarded. They just kind of came in and played ethical baseball, and that kind of nipped them in the butt a little bit. Um, it's one of those things. It, I don't know. It's hard to say because truly they look so good against the Padres, and for them to come out and then look so flat against the Brewers was just really interesting. And I think it showed the difference in the quality of teams between the Padres and the Brewers, at least when it came time for playoff preparedness. All that to say, this is still a team that has a lot to look forward to. They have an incredible young core of talent. They were without some of their best pitching this year. I mean, off the top of my head, they're going to get Justin Steele, who's essentially their ace back, similarly to the Yankees, right? And their biggest and only really pending free agent is going to be Kyle Tucker. And obviously, they traded for Kyle Tucker, and they traded a lot for him. So I would be genuinely shocked if they were not at least competitive in his free agency market or try to get a deal done with him, before really anything else can happen or any other teams get involved. Because outside of that, I mean, you're talking about, again, they had one of the best defenses in all of baseball. If they could get full seasons from guys like PCA, who obviously his first half was maybe the best first half of any player outside of like Judge and Cal Raleigh. Like he was insane. I think there's a lot to look forward to in this Chicago team, and they'll absolutely be back. And I believe in Craig Counsell. I do think that the Cubs will be very competitive for many years now. They've got a good young core there.
Yeah, 100%. I think the Cubs, you know, I, how much better the Dodgers are than everybody else in the NL is how much better the Brewers are than the Cubs, kind of almost. Like it
Mm-hmm.
just seemed that way. It seemed that way during that series. And so, even though they were able to take it, to 5 games. It didn't appear. I never really lost the faith that the Brewers would win that series,
Yeah.
and it's just because watching that Cubs lineup, it just looked a little uninspired, a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And so, watching that, I mean, these guys have a lot of growth to yet to have, and
It's a
they'll be
young
able to.
team.
Yep, they'll be able to make it happen. I think. What happens with Kyle Tucker in free agency? Who's to say? But I think the Cubs, they've got a lot on their plate this offseason. So, but again, good manager, good young team. I think they'll
Yep.
be around for a little while. So we can count on seeing them again. But for now, we have to say goodbye to the 2025 Chicago Cubs, as we have now. So, all right. So I'm on the Tigers. Tigers were eliminated by the Mariners in one of the most thrilling baseball games ever
2
played.
games.
Absolutely. Two baseball games worth of baseball was played on that Friday night in Seattle, and watching it as a neutral fan was just a great experience. If you are a Mariners fan, and especially if you are a Tigers fan, I can't imagine what you had to go through during that game, but it was awesome for us to watch. So we appreciate the suffering you endured to give us such a great game. It's one of those things. Like I watched the 18 inning Red Sox Dodger postseason game all those years ago. I watched that game, and it just gave me the same feeling. Like once you hit in this game, Game 5 of the ALDS this year, once you hit like 12 innings, like once you hit the 12th inning and Castillo comes in, you're just like, all right, put on the
New
coffee.
game.
Like who's like we're going another 6. Like I just
Mm-hmm.
you didn't know how someone was going to be able to score because you had watched these teams for so many innings in a row blow opportunities to score, and just completely blow it. So that Game 5, it was just a great thrill to watch.
Did you see?
Yeah.
Did you see the video from Barstool of the guy? They time lapsed him. He sat in his chair and did not get up once for the entirety of the game.
Wow, that's pretty crazy. I don't
I
know
don't know
how
why
that
it
would.
made me laugh.
I don't know if I'd be able to do that, like physically able to do that.
My muscles would
Um,
be like atrophying.
yeah, 100%. Because I mean, this is a 5.5 hour baseball game we're talking about.
Hmm.
But that's pretty crazy. I guess I don't know. If you work in an office, you could do that. You could sit down for 5.5 hours straight. I guess if you really had stuff to do. But that's crazy. No one should do that. If you're watching a baseball game and it goes longer than a couple hours, get up.
I
Um,
mean, you're supposed to get up and stretch even in a regular game. They
right.
built one in.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. There's a space built in for you to get up and stretch in baseball. Don't forget. So, but yeah, great Game 5. Not enough to say
Hmm.
about it. Watching both of the teams just get so close, so many innings in a row, runners in scoring position, can't do it, can't break it. It was really nice, and we got a couple examples so far this offseason of like life before the extra runner, right? On in extra
Hmm.
innings because they take it away in the postseason. And you just remember how classic that used to be. Like, just like, yeah, man, we're just here forever. Like, who's going to do it? And it was just great. But on to the point of why we're talking about this, the Tigers did leave us for the 2025 season. So their cause of death, it's kind of tough to say because they really did make it a good series against the Mariners. You know, like when they were down in that series, it didn't really look like they were going to win a game. But then you know, they pulled out game two, and then they made some big noise in game four. I think they scored 9 runs in that game. Tigers did, and so you're thinking, okay, the bats are awake. You've got Scooble in a game five. Like, this is real. The Tigers have a shot here,
Mm-hmm.
and as those of us who are like shadow rooting for the Mariners, that was like, oh no, like, are they going
They're
to
going to do it
Mariners?
again.
Yeah, are they going to do Mariners? And it's just like being even like a shadow fan of the Mariners, you have that inherited Mariner fan trauma of like, oh
Mm-hmm.
no, it's happening again. They're going to blow it. But this Mariner team is built different. They were able to close it out on the back of that. So it's kind of hard to come up with a cause of death for the Tigers, but I guess if I were to come up with something, it's just, the bullpen just didn't have what it took to pitch in that many games that they had to play because they played 5 games and their bullpen pitchers took a lot of work in those games because outside of Taylor Skubal, the Tigers don't really have another guy who can give you reliably 5-6 innings. Flaherty only went into the fourth in his start. Casey Mize, I think, pitched 3 in his start. So you don't have that guy, that second guy, who can give you those innings. And so the bullpen just got worked to death, and they were not able to withstand the Mariners for that long, especially considering that they essentially played Game 5 and 6 on Friday night. So
Yeah.
if I had to pin it on something, I think that would be it. What they can look forward to in the afterlife. Look, their division should still be winnable next year. I
Yep.
think that it should be certainly as winnable as it was this year, next year. The downside of that is that they did not win the division this year. After all, after leading the division for a long time, they did not end up winning it. So, who's to say how that will go for them? But another thing they can look forward to, I think this team is now even more motivated than last year to make some moves and do something. I think it's more clear now once they've played more playoff level competition what they need to compete. And I think that this team in this front office is motivated to go out and get it. So when it comes to getting better bats in the lineup that can make offensive performance more consistent, when it comes to getting starting pitching that can give you solid innings, I think this team knows that they need that. They know that that's what it's going to take to compete at this level, and I have faith that they want to go get it. So Tigers fans, look forward to an active offseason from your Tigers. I think you can because they know that it's on. They know that last year that was not a mistake. This year they made it again. They went deeper or as deep. I don't remember. But the same, they did the same thing at least again this year. And
Mm-hmm.
so they can now draw on 2 years straight of saying, if we just do a couple things, we can maybe make it a little bit further. So, but for now, goodbye to the Tigers. We loved your season. It was great. But it all must be sacrificed on the altar of Mariners finally doing this. So goodbye to the Tigers. Last team we're going to talk about in our in memoriam segment are, unfortunately, the Philadelphia Phillies, and Matt has notes on them.
Yeah. I mean, I would say most of baseball, the baseball world, were rooting for the Phillies. Um, Cause of death is pretty obvious. They played the Dodgers, right? Like at the end of the day, I don't want to hear all the narratives of, right now, especially Dodgers fans are going crazy with like, oh, it's not David versus Goliath. Like, look at the Brewers record. Don't give me that. Don't give me that. Dodgers, you underperformed this year. That's not our fault. Um, that being said, the Dodgers are healthy. The Dodgers are playing like they always, had the potential to be, and it's showing. I mean, the best teams in baseball right now aren't really giving them that much competition. Even in the games that they're making close, it just feels like the Dodgers are dominating series. Two in a row so far, and we'll see how the game goes tonight. But when we hopped on, the Dodgers were absolutely winning. So it's interesting. But as far as I'll focus on the Phillies and not give the Dodgers too much time. What they can look forward to is that they still have a star-studded cast. They are still going to bring back Bryce Harper. They are still going to bring back Trey Turner. They still have a good pitching staff. I don't know what the timeline for recovery for Zach Wheeler looks like, but I mean the season that Cristobal Sanchez had, and they still have Nola, and I believe this year they brought up Andrew Painter. I believe it was, because they traded McAble, but like they brought up this guy, Painter, who's been their top prospect forever, and so hopefully he can have some development. But like this is still going to be a very good team, and the potential loss of Kyle Schwarber, we'll see if he ends up leaving or if he stays and signs there, could obviously have a large impact on the team. But at the end of the day, this should still be one of the most talented teams in baseball, in my opinion. Um, and I think that they'll be right back in playoffs next year. I really do. I think that they'll have another shot at it. And, their division's going to be really competitive next year. I don't think the Braves have another, dump season like they did this year. But at the end of the day, it's their division to win until proven otherwise. So, Phillies fans, you'll be back. But unfortunately, you played the Dodgers. Should have been on the other side of the bracket.
You should have done a little worse in the regular season. You never know what could happen at
Mm-hmm.
that point. But I mean, we can't leave this segment without talking about that awful, awful, unfortunate error that ended the Phillies season. Um, you know, Kirkering, Kirkering just freezes up there. The plays at one all day, every day, no matter what, since Little League.
and
In that
so and
situation,
so easy.
in that situation, since you were 6 years old playing ball, that's where you go with the baseball, right? That right in that moment, and you just
Mm-hmm.
you can't imagine what it must have felt like for him to freeze in that moment, panic the way he did, sail the ball, and just like, why did I just do that? Like, I'm sure that was his first thought after doing it was, why did I just do that? Because
Yeah.
there's no way that it would make sense to him if he was thinking not in a super rushed panic state right there. I do understand what it could be like to see that run coming in and just being like, no, I have to stop that run from coming in. But I mean, just a heartbreaker. Hopefully, he's got a
It's
long career ahead of him, I hope, and he'll come back from it. But
I was gonna say, and he's a rookie if I'm not mistaken. This was his first season, so I mean, you can imagine the nerves that are built up for just essentially a young kid playing in his first playoffs against the Dodgers. Like it's a brutal situation, and unfortunately, it happened. Can't really take that away. So
yeah, just a huge bummer of a way to end it. But let us move on now to the series that's going on right now, which is the championship series. So we're in the next round.
mhm.
We are well into these games. So the Mariners and the Blue Jays have played two. The Dodgers and the Brewers have played 1.5. There's a game going on right now. You might see different shades of light on my face as it is on in front of me. But let's talk about the ALCS first. So, like I said, two games have been played. The Mariners somehow have won both. Somehow, some way, don't question it. Just accept it. The Mariners are up 2-0 on the Blue Jays in the ALCS going into Game 3 in Seattle. So, Game 1, Bryce Miller comes up clutch, starting the game for the absolutely belabored, exhausted Mariners pitching staff, who was completely run through in Game 5. Pretty much everybody who was available pitched almost, and so they didn't know where they were going to go for this game, and Bryce Miller
Yep.
stepped up and gave him a great start. Blue Jays bats, they went ice cold. They had a great series against the Yankees, but in Game 1, they just could not put anything together. Game 2, the Mariners teed off for 10 runs, and on the back mostly of Jorge Polanco, who is going crazy. So let's talk about the ALCS so far and start with Bryce Miller. So he had a tough regular season. You know, there were injury problems. He was trying to come back, and the outings he did put together weren't all that promising. Certainly not the kind of starts that you want to put that pitcher into a situation in the postseason like this, but where you want to give your team a good start, and that's who you choose to put in. But like I said, they had no choice, and so they went with him, and he rewarded them big time. So how do we think he was able to get to a place where he's able to turn in an outing like this?
Yeah, I mean, so we're both friends with a ton of Mariners fans, and
Yeah.
I've chatted with a few of them about the Bryce Miller game, and a few different people brought up the fact, and I wouldn't know this, I didn't watch every Mariners game like they did, but apparently Bryce Miller changed where he was pitching from this season. Apparently he moved to the other side of the mound, and I don't know if that was an attempt to make an amazing season last year into even better this year. I don't know. I can't speak to that, but clearly it didn't work this regular season, right? And so I don't know if he made some adjustment in the postseason of maybe reverting back to his old spot on the mound, or maybe his injuries just allowed him time to really put in the work on delivering from that spot on the mound. Maybe it's just a mental thing. Maybe he's one of those rare, on the pitching side, like a Kike Hernandez, and turns out this dude's just a playoff baller. Like, there's a number of reasons why this could have happened, but I mean, at the end of the day, I'm glad it did, right? Like, at the end of the day, we just got to be happy it happened, because the Mariners look good right now, man. The Blue Jays looked like they were going to kick ass the entire playoffs. Vladdy looked unstoppable. That lineup looked unstoppable. And then you watched Bryce Miller pitch, and it was like, this dude's kind of just mowing him down. Like, he was through, I think, like 7 innings with like 80 pitches. Like, it wasn't even taking that long.
Mm-hmm.
And he pitched like 20 something in the first. So those next 5-6 innings, I mean, he was just burning through those hitters. So, great game is all I can say. Like, he had a great game, and then obviously Seattle's bats game 2 came alive, and I don't know, man. It's tempting to really believe, like, oh my god, this is gonna be it. This is the Mariners' year. And then I remember 7-game series still. Like, they're not in yet.
Yeah. Yep. There's a long way to go for the Mariners for sure from here, but being up 2-0 ain't a bad start going home, certainly.
No.
And so, yeah, you mentioned that first inning for Bryce Miller. Yeah, like the first pitch of the game, or in the first at-bat of the game, Springer took him deep, and you're like, oh, God, here we go. Like, oh boy, the Blue Jays are already ready to roll. Like, they've gotten rest. They've they've stayed locked in. And then from there, just complete shutdown. And it was really, really fun to watch. So while we're on the subject of the Blue Jays bats, do we think another question that might come up is, do we think that their dominance versus the Yankees was more a product of the Yankees pitching not being that strong, or it's certainly as strong as Seattle's, or is there something that they can rediscover to wake those bats back up? Like, do the Blue Jays have something in the tank here that isn't being accessed for some reason that we will see wake up when they get to Seattle?
Yeah, and I can't speak directly, again, to the Yankees situation. I'm not going to say, I've memorized the analytics of that series, but one thing that you can say from this entire season the Yankees were a bad team defensively. I think that it would take an ignorant person to say otherwise. Like, it was a very bad team defensively. Um, and with that, the Blue Jays were a team last year who they were just one of those high contact. They struggled in slugging, but they didn't strike out. They just tried to play this very like small ball game. And this year they added some slugging. But when you meet a team who's bad on defense versus a team who has high contact and low strikeouts, you're setting the other team up to fail, right? And that's just not the case for the Mariners. The Mariners are pretty solid defensively, and then they have great pitching. So it's like all of a sudden, if you're not able to slug, and we've seen most of the damage that the Blue Jays have been on extra base hits and on big hits. It's not been these rallies that they've been able to put together where it's three, four, five hits in an inning that run up the score. They'll hit like a solo shot here, they'll hit maybe like a two-runner here, but they just haven't really been able to get this team going against the Mariners. And I think that absolutely is the difference between the Mariners pitching and defense versus the Yankees pitching and defense. Like the Yankees were truly just a bad team on defense and pitching that was waiting to get exposed. I genuinely believe that. So it's, yeah, I don't know. The Mariners look like what we all thought they were going to be coming into the season in terms of their pitching right now.
Yeah. I mean, for real. I mean, this is what you want. I mean, if Bryce Miller can put together starts like that, if he's capable of that in this postseason, as he seems to be, you've got him, Gilbert, who's solid. You have Castillo, who's complete shutdown, especially at home. You have Brian Wu, who's coming back. Yep. You have him who's coming back. And I mean, Kirby is also in there. And so this is the kind of pitching staff that can make a 7-game series against the Dodgers interesting because of that pitching staff. If the Mariners do not win the ALCS, I do not think that the AL has a chance to win the World Series. But if the Mariners go, they've got a shot because of that pitching staff. So, I think to put a button on the Blue Jays, I think that Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is somewhere in the middle of versus Yankees Vlad Jr. and what we've seen so far versus Seattle Vlad Jr. He's somewhere in the middle there. He's got to find that middle. If he can do it, then maybe the rest of the team can follow suit. But for now, it just looks like those bats are not being able to figure it out. And again, they have to face Castillo in Game 3 in Seattle, which is as hard of a opponent as you can have. And so, they got a tall task ahead of them to not go down in this series 3-0 and play for their lives for 4 games straight. So on Seattle, last thing on this series, and then we'll move to the NL, Jorge Polanco. I mean, this guy is going crazy. The entire offseason long, through the end of the division series, through the beginning now of the championship series. What do we think? Because Jorge Polanco, he didn't have a great year last year for sure. This year he was a little better, but he wasn't this. And this postseason, he's just the guy that has showed up. He's the one who sent them, into the championship series. He had the walk-off, base hit that sent him in there. And so, what is he getting so right at the plate, do we think? Let's offer up some thoughts on that.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, it's one of those things about sports that I think is so magical. And there's probably some nerd out there who actually can answer this question with a correct answer. But I'm going to go with just like, it's just called sports magic. It's postseason magic. Like, I genuinely believe that sometimes in a good playoff run for any team in any sport, you need one of those random guys on the team to just step up and have himself a run. Like, You know what I mean? Like, I think you can think back to any team that's really done this, and there's always that one guy on the team where you're like, that was an unexpected playoff run from the championship team. Like, you didn't expect this guy to be playing a big role. And whether that was because he was originally a backup and there was an injury, or because he just didn't play that well in the regular season, like, I think that he's truly just having one of those sports playoffs magic, moments. And if it continues for him, that's awesome and amazing, and I'd love to see it. But at the end of the day, like, he's already kind of cemented himself as having one of these magic moments. So yeah, I can't put a button on it exactly. I can't put a pin on it, but he's been awesome.
Yeah, he's 4 for 9 with 5 RBI. I mean, this is a really locked in player, and this is someone who can carry this lineup in the middle area of it.
Mm-hmm.
And for a lineup that's that is so strong 1 through 3, it's very important that someone like this exists in the 4 spot, because
Mm-hmm.
you have some protection for the earlier parts of the lineup. Now, people are putting on Cal Raleigh at will. As long as there's a free base, they're putting him on, which is, I think, the smart thing to do. But when it comes to a guy like uh, Julio Rodriguez, when you have Polanco coming up behind him, he can get some pitches, and he destroyed one in game 2. Big homer for him, and so hopefully he can start capitalizing on those kind of things. I think Cal Raleigh is obviously this year's Mariners Superman hero, beloved guy, but I think everyone in Seattle, every Mariner fan, wants Julio to be that for them at some point
Yes.
also. Like, they would love to
Yes.
have both of them go crazy all the time. That would be great. But I think now that they've seen Cal Raleigh do it, they want Julio to be able to do it too. And this is his opportunity to do it, with someone like Polanco hitting so well behind him and Cal Raleigh getting put on as long as there's a free base. He has chances to make some serious impact for the Mariners going forward. So, hopefully for Mariner fans, he can be able to do that. But let's end on the AL there. So, yeah, we're through 2 games, and Mariners are up 2-0. Feeling good in Seattle, but the Blue Jays are not done yet, for sure. On to the NLCS, ongoing, but Dodgers are up 1-0 as of the moment. They are currently leading game 2 in the top of the 8th, 4-1. So we might have a final on that by the time we stop talking on this episode. So we'll check in there. But right now they're up 1-0. So in game 1, we mentioned at the top of the show, the craziest double play you'll ever see. The Brewers were able to turn. Go look it up if you haven't gotten a chance to see it. It's truly, truly one of the wildest plays ever. But they also had a heroic effort from their pitching staff, the Brewers. They were able to pitch all game through on several arms and hold the Dodgers offense off as much as possible. But it was all for nothing, because Blake Snell dominated once again. He had 8 innings pitched, only 1 hit allowed, and 10 strikeouts. And Freddie Freeman hit a homer, and that lifted the Dodgers to the win. The final score was 2-1. The Brewers had a chance in the bottom of the 9th to come back. They were given a shot by Roki Sasaki's blister, but Dave Roberts was able to pull him in time, so that not as much damage could be done. And so the Dodgers did win that game. So what I want to talk about for this NLCS so far, first thing I want to talk about is Shohei Ohtani. So surprise, surprise, I want to talk about Shohei. I'll always want to do that. But something really interesting is happening with him in this series, and that is he can't hit in this series or in the DS, because his 1 for 20 something streak goes back to the DS. He might be like 2 for 20 something now, as of today's game, but he can't hit right now if he's getting the chance to. But that's the caveat, is that regardless of the fact that he has not been putting up numbers hitting, he has been reaching base because teams will still be walking him intentionally if they can, which I think, again, is the smart thing to do, considering that he is one mistake pitch away from getting right. Um, so that had a big impact on game one because in the inning where the Dodgers were able to take the lead, he was intentionally walked to load the bases, and then they scored the winning run after that. So Shohei at the plate. Are we really seeing again, like we saw with guys like Barry Bonds, things like that? Are we really seeing again a guy that it doesn't matter whether or not he can hit? They're just scared of him always.
Um, yeah, straight up, yeah, right? Like, at the end of the day, this is a dude who just did the 50-50 season, and he's, pretty damn close to trying to do that again this year. And it's he's probably about to win his third consecutive MVP, correct? I believe he's going for number three this year. And it's like at some point, this is one of the few sports where you have a designated play type where you can just eliminate a guy from trying to play. Like at the end of the day, like obviously he can still steal, he can still run the bases, but for him to cross home plate, you'd either need like three throwing errors or you would need guys on the team to play well. And granted, it's the Dodgers, it's still not a great bet. But yeah, I do think that he's going to get Barry Bonds, and potentially we might start seeing that more just in his career. Like at some point, you don't want to just, I don't know. I think it's hard when it comes to guys like this who are clearly so far ahead and better than like the standard player, right? Because like even amongst superstars, Shohei Ohtani is a star. And I think when you reach that level, I'm shocked that Aaron Judge isn't treated like this. And he gets intentionally walked a good amount, but it's like there's certain hitters where it's like the intentional walk almost inherently will always be more valuable. Because I don't know. I just had this conversation with a friend, and we are talking about like the mentality of baseball is so much like you want to like compound wins or compound, the everything is you're trying to build base runners so you can hit the grand slam or the bases clearing double, whatever. The most dangerous hit in all of baseball is a team that hits a lot of solo shot home runs. It's unbeatable. Like if you hit a home run, they
Mariners.
can't play defense against it. Exactly, right? Like at the end of the day, the home runs matter, and I think with guys like Shohei, if you genuinely gave him a perfect OBP every at bat for a season, he was walked. I think that he would like the Dodgers offense would probably have less runs. Maybe that's a bold take. I think the Dodgers would end with less runs if you simply intentionally walk Shohei every at bat. And that's not fun. Let me put that out there. That's not fun. I want to see people pitch to Shohei. I want to see him swing. But if you're just talking about like the nitty gritty of winning, yeah, I think it's time to start walking some of these guys.
Yeah, and um, that's like it takes away something that could be an advantage for a team going against the Dodgers because it's like, oh, if Shohei's slumping, maybe another team has a chance, like maybe they have a chance to, but it doesn't matter in playoffs if Shohei's slumping or not. There's a different calculus than the regular season. Like you don't
Yeah,
have to pitch to him, so teams are choosing not to in the
yeah,
postseason, and so it's a different equation. And so when you come to the postseason, it really doesn't matter how long of a skid he goes on. I don't think. I think he'll still be intentionally walked as much as possible.
yeah,
And when he's not, I mean, look, I just got through he's obviously still in the middle of a skid. But in this game two, he got an RBI. They pitched to him, he got a single, and it was an RBI. And so you never know when he's going to start just breaking again. And so I
Mhm.
think it is the smart thing to do. But last thing on this series before we move on is, do we think that the Brewers have the pitching staff to be able to survive a longer series? Like, even if they're able to take a couple games in LA, can they do they have the horses to go seven and think they can win? Or are they damned if they do, damned if they don't, get swept or go seven and lose? Like, is it kind of that situation for them right now?
I it's so tough because I'm like, this was the best team in baseball by record. They, by all accounts, had great pitching, but you look and it's like, Freddie Peralta, he, I believe, had the most wins. Don't come at me, wins people. Do not come at me. He had the most wins, I believe, in MLB this year. He had a sub 3 ERA. Like he was really good. He was an ace for all intents and purposes. And like if he's gonna get beat 4-1, it's hard to say that you're gonna do better, right? Like if your ace is losing, it's hard to say that you're going to win the series because usually that's like the redeeming factor for an underdog team is like, well, maybe our ace can like, go toe to toe with that team and we can roll them out 3 times in a 7 game series. So maybe we just need to steal one. They're kind of getting just beat and it's their ace. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't look like they're going to go toe to toe with them. The Brewers, put up so many runs against the Cubs. We talked about this. They put up as many runs as the Padres did in their entire series in their first inning against the Cubs. Um, and right now it's looking like they'll score 1 a game. So for them
Yeah.
to steal a single game, and this is at home, for them to steal a single game from the Dodgers, they have to basically pitch perfect. To me, that does not bode well. To me, maybe they steal a game. Maybe. But this is looking like a Dodgers in 5, Dodgers in 6 type series. I just I don't know. I don't see it. Somebody on that team offensively needs to have a fire lit under them. Like I don't know if it's Christian Yelich. I don't know if it's, Jackson Churio, who did have a home run today. But it's
Yep.
like somebody on this team needs to get going and wake the rest of this offense up. And I know the Dodgers have good pitching. They have great pitching. But like at the end of the day, if you want to win a World Series, you got to be able to hit good pitching and great pitching. Like, we saw the Mariners go out and beat Scooble twice. Like,
Yep.
they were able to take it to Scooble, who by most people's metrics is the best pitcher or at least top 2, top 3. So when it comes to, facing Blake Snell, when it comes to facing Yamamoto, when it comes to facing Shohei, if you get the chance to see some of their other guys, you got to score runs. You have to. And 1 a game is not going to do it. So, I don't think that they have the pitching staff, at least as what it looks like right now. I don't think they have the pitching staff to survive against the Dodgers.
Yeah. It would certainly be hard to make a case that they do. And just
Would love to see it, but
would love to see it. We got a couple more things to do for this episode, so but I do want to mention you're going to get live reaction here as it happens, whatever happens in Game Two right now, because the Brewers have encountered the one situation where you cannot walk Shohei Ohtani, and that is that the bases are loaded, and he is coming up. So they can't walk him, so they're going to have to pitch to him, and so you'll get live reaction as to what happens. But let's talk about, I think we have the same pick here. We like to make predictions on our show as well. With so few
mhm.
games going on, it's hard to make just general predictions. So, but this is a good chance, a good opportunity to make one. So I think we both have the same thought here, so I'll let you go for it. Who's going to the World Series?
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, it's the teams who are winning, right? It's Mariners and it's going to be Dodgers. I truly believe that. It's the two teams with the deepest and best pitching staffs left, and in playoff baseball, there's pretty much two things that matter, and it's pitching and slugging. Like, you got to be able to shut down an opposite team, and you need to be able to score even if your whole team can't, right? You take the runs. And so, to me, this is the two best pitching staffs and the two best slugging teams left. We got the home run champion and the home run king. Great pitching. So I think it's going to be Mariners Dodgers. I'll even make the prediction right now. Let's call it Mariners in seven.
Okay.
Close series, but I think let's make it exciting. But I gotta root for them. I can't say Dodgers because that will just make me sad.
Yeah. Um, Shohei Ohtani was swung out of his shoes and struck out. Um, Unfortunately for the Dodgers. They're still up 5-1 going into the last inning, but that was he did one of those helmet almost comes off Shohei swings. Seen it a lot. Yeah, I think Mariners Dodgers too. I think Mariners Dodgers as well. It is the series that is the most interesting um, of the options right now because of the reasons I mentioned earlier. I just think that the Mariners are the only team left who has a pitching staff that is anywhere near decent enough to make a series interesting with the Dodgers right now, based on what we've seen in this postseason from the Dodgers pitching staff. Um,
Yeah.
Also, West Coast Kings. Like, come on. Like, we're West
Always
Coast
have been.
guys. We're West Coast guys.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see double West Coast World Series. I love visually a double cold color World Series. I hate, you'll hear
You've
me.
talked about that on the pod.
You'll
Yeah.
hear me talk about this on our NFL episodes too, but I'm sick and tired of these double warm color Super Bowls. I'm sick of it. Give me a double cool color championship. So I would also like that from a visual standpoint. But I do think that that is the most interesting option for a World Series. So, all right.
Yeah.
So we'll check in with how the championship series ended up next week on our episode, and then also preview the World Series. So it's going to be a great show next week. But before we end this week, I teased it at the beginning. We thought Fan Corner was dead because the Padres, Red Sox, and Angels were all out of it this season. But something has happened in the last week that has made a requirement for an emergency fan corner. And that thing that had happened is that Mike Schilt has surprised and shocked the baseball world by retiring as manager of the Padres. So, emergency fan corner, Padres fan corner, Matt's here. Question is, what now?
Uh, here so I'll say this. This is something that came as a shock to Padres fans. The Padres fans that I at least follow, the ones that are in the circle that I am, integrated into, we were very torn on Mike Schilt. On one hand, he's led us to the first back-to-back 90-win seasons in our franchise's history. 90 wins is fantastic. 90 wins usually gets you to playoffs. For him, it did. We got to playoffs both times. And yet, at the end of the day, we had some pretty heartbreaking and disappointing ways to get eliminated from playoffs. And I think a lot of people were getting already a little worn on his defensiveness to the media and to anyone questioning his methods, his lineups. Um, and he had a bit of a stubbornness to him that I think can be really awesome from a manager and someone who like really sticking to their guns when it works. And it's tough to watch from your team when it's not. As far as what happens now, I think, and this that some people might say this is wrong. I do believe the Padres instantly become the most attractive manager position right now available. We even in all the turmoil with the ownership that happened this offseason, I believe have one of the top, if not the top payroll. Angels might have a higher payroll, but for different reasons. Um, I believe we have
of the
like the
teams
top
that need a
payroll.
manager, right? Like
Yeah,
top payroll of the teams that need a manager, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I was like
Um,
the Angels not
of
that big,
of the
but
8 teams,
yes, of the teams, yes, the Angels are up there for sure.
yeah, yeah. So I think it's like, us and the Angels, but then what you get with the Padres is a general manager who has shown a willingness to be aggressive, has shown a willingness to acquire talent and acquire players. Someone who is an excellent scout. The farm system is pretty much depleted every year and restocked as a top 10 farm the next. Um, it it's he also does not care about the lineup. He gives full control of lineup and roster and all that to the manager. AJ Preller is very much in his own lane, which I think a lot of managers will appreciate. So I don't know. Optimistically, I like to think maybe we might have our pick of the litter when it comes to the coaching cycle this year. There is a lot of ex Padres, both coaches and managers that are available. We got Bud Black, we've got Bob Melvin, we got Bruce Bochy, we've got all these guys. I don't know if any of them end up back in San Diego. Kind of hope not. Um, but then we've also got a lot of guys who are connected, a lot of ex-players who are kind of been connected to us. Albert Pujols has been floated out there. Yadi Molina has been floated out there. They're talking about internal hires like Ruben Niebla. Our pitching staff has been awesome the past couple of years. There's so many directions we could go at this point. I think the biggest thing to wait and see is what AJ Preller decides to do with Schilt's coaching staff. Whether they try and maintain a lot of the coaching and bring in someone of a similar mindset or internal hire, or if they clear house and they just say, we're going to give power to a new manager to see if they can capitalize on the talent of this roster. Because at the end of the day, that's something that's a selling point too. I mean, whoever comes here gets Tatis, Machado, Jackson Merrill. They get all this pitching staff. They get the Super Bowl pin. And there's a lot of good on the Padres when it comes to selling points to a new manager. So I don't know if I can even make an accurate prediction or a realistic prediction at this point of what is going to happen, but I do believe I would expect the Padres to end up getting to try and go premier with this. I don't think that they're going to pick some random guy who's been like a double A bench coach. I don't think that's going to be the way that we go. I think it's going to be a name that everyone says, wow, that is a name I know. Whether, that be an ex-player, whether that be one of the many established coaches, I think this is going to be a notable name, is what I'll say.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say is that it's a good spot for either someone who's doing it for the first time or someone who's trying to, you know, uh, salvage some kind of a reputation for themselves. I think it's a great place for
Yep.
any candidate for whom that applies, and there's plenty of them out there. So hopefully, they'll be able to get their guy. But yeah, we could not let that go by without addressing it on this show. Certainly some unexpected turmoil for the Padres, but I think it's the kind of turmoil they're built to withstand. So we'll see how it turns out. Obviously, whatever happens, we'll keep you updated on it. We'll address it here, whatever goes down. But for now, that is all for this week's MLB episode of Dingers and Stingers. So stay tuned for our NFL episode this week. But and then next week we are going to be talking about, like I said, we'll recap the championship series. We'll talk about how, for some godforsaken reason, Yamamoto was able to go 8 innings tonight as well in Game 2. Dodgers have 2 starters who win 8 innings in back-to-back games. That's crazy. And whatever happens from here, we'll talk about it, and we'll also preview the World Series and potentially with a special guest. So stay tuned to find out who that might be. For now, you can subscribe to us here on YouTube to make sure you don't miss when we upload. Like this video, share it, drop in the comments what you guys think who's going to the World Series. We want to hear from you. Follow us on Instagram at Dingers and Stingers. Thanks for watching, and until next time, we'll see you. Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.